Okay, so this is going to be chapter two. Oops, that's loaded. Chapter two of Access. And so we've already gone through Access and we've created a database. And we've done a few simple queries. We also did a simple report. So in this chapter, we're going to be doing some more queries, a little more complex queries. And so the objectives for this chapter is we will be creating queries in the design view this time. We will include fields in that design grid, use text and numeric data in the criteria. We'll be able to save that query and reuse it, create and use parameter queries, use a compound criteria in queries, meaning sort for two different things. We will sort for the data in the criteria or in the queries, join tables in a query, create a report and form from a query, export that query so that you can open it in Excel. We will be performing some calculations and calculate some statistics in queries. We are going to skip the objective for creating a crosstab query. We do not have to do that. And then we're going to look at the navigation pane. So we're going to be using the same database that you had created in chapter one. I have given it to you again just in case you had an error, so you can download that one before. It is again Pratt and Associates. And so here's some of the queries we're going to be doing. This will show you every query we're going to be adding. So for example, give me the account number, account name, amount paid, current due, the account manager, the number for all accounts, for whose due amounts are greater than 2,500 and whose account manager is 30 grand. So this is more like what we're going to be doing, and then you can see here what the results of that would be. Here is another query we're going to do. Here's what your results would be. So we have several of these that are a little more complex that we're going to be working on. So I do recommend you follow along in the book. You will probably need to refer back in the book whenever you start on your homework assignments because these are a little more complicated. So you may have to refer back to remember how exactly to do those. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my Access open. Whenever I download it and open it, do make sure that you save it. So I'm going to go ahead and resave mine. Save database as, save as. And then you can put it where you're going to want to be able to find it. Once you have that done, you're going to go ahead and hit Enable Content. That's going to make everything work properly. And we are ready to get started. So in the book, we're starting at we're on page AC67, creating a query. So we have Access open. And in the last chapter, we used the simple query wizard. However, most of the time, it's easier to almost just do it in design view instead of using the wizard. So we're going to open the database and we're ready to go to the Create tab. Now in the Create tab, we're going to do Query Design. So last time we did everything in Query Wizard. This time we're doing everything in Query Design. You're going to want to make sure that we have the account table. So here we have our tables. We're going to move account table over. You can double click it or you can simply click once and hit Add. Okay, I do not need the account manager table, so I'm going to close that. I can make this a little bit bigger so we can see it all. We are going to be doing several queries in this chapter. Okay, so the first field we want to put in there, we are going to be creating a query that will obtain the account number, account name, amount paid, and current due for a particular account. So we just have to add all of those accounts in there. So it's the account number, the account name, the amount paid, and the current due. Oops, I missed one that did not go down. Account number, name, amount paid. So I'm going to try it again. But now I need to move it, so I just click up there and then I can drag it over. So I've got the amount paid and then my current due. Okay, we do not need to see all this information for every account. We want to limit it, and so we're going to use criteria. You can use text data. Text is data that was entered as a short text type, and the criteria just means that it has to match that criteria. so that it's going to show up. So for this example, we want to only see the account of JM323. So under the account number field, I'm going to go to the criteria row and type JM323. Make sure you type it correctly. That's why I stressed in the last chapter that if you made a mistake or a typo, that it's not going to work properly now. So now that I have that criteria, it should only bring up any accounts that match that account number. I'll go ahead and hit run. And you can see there that it did work. We did get the JFP manufacturing. And we can see how much they paid and how much is currently due. So we're going to save. So I'm just going to hit the save button here, or you can do file, save as, and this time we're just saving an object. So we're not saving the whole database. So you can do save object as, and we're going to save this one as it is. We're going to start it with M02Q01. Okay? Whenever you do your homework assignment and your test, I'd like for you to put a dash and then put your initials after these, okay? So this is modular 2, query number 1 is what that stands for. So I'm going to hit OK. Now you can see over here in our queries, we now have this M02Q01 added. The next kind of thing we want to learn about is a wild card. So whenever you're playing cards, you have a wild card that's a joker, sometimes a deuce, and what that means is that card can be used for any other card. If you're playing, so that it's a wild card. We have a couple wild cards whenever we're using Access. And it talks about wild cards on page 72 of your book. Wild cards are just symbols that's going to represent any character or a combination of characters. One of them is the asterisk, so the asterisk, which is your time sign or shift 8, and that's going to represent any collection of characters. So for example, if I wanted anybody whose name began with a J, I would type J asterisk, and that would give me Dawn and Julie and Jenny. But if I just wanted to replace one letter because I wasn't sure if I wanted John, so let's say I wanted John, Jon, and I also wanted Jan, Jan. So in that case, I would replace it with a question mark, and I would have J question mark N. So a question mark would represent one character. It's only going to replace one character in that case. So the asterisk will replace several characters. The question mark replaces only one character. So we're going to be using a wild card. We're going to be going back to the same queries we create and doing a bunch of edits on the same one and just renaming them instead of recreating new ones. But in this case, it looks like we're going to okay, we're going to reuse this one, so I'm just going to go to View, Design View, and that's going to bring us back here. I'm going to take out the criteria, because that's no longer what we need. And this time the criteria, we want it to be a capital K, so any account number that begins with a K. So I'll use K asterisk, and that's going to give me any account that begins with K, and hit run. So now you can see that we got Key Community College System and Cal Veterinary Services. Okay, this time I'm going to do save as. So I can do file, save as, save object as, save as, and I'm going to name this one M02Q02. And hit OK. So now you can see I should have both of those. There it comes up. Both of those over here in my queries. Okay, moving along. We're now on page 74 of your book, and we're going to use criteria for a field not included in the results. We're going to want our criteria field, we're going to want it to set our criteria, but we don't have to show it. So example, if we wanted everyone from Milan, we don't need it to show us Milan because obviously they're from Milan. So in this one, we want to see only those accounts that are located in Granger. But we don't need the word Granger to appear in everything. So we're just going to go back to the view, design view, and we're going to take out the criteria. You'll notice it changes that to like pay. That's okay, just erase that. And for our criteria, we want it to be under the city. So we're going to come up here and we're going to have to add city. I just double click, it's going to put it at the end. It does not matter where it is because we are going to uncheck the show button. That means it will not show it. But then under the criteria row, we are going to go ahead and type the word Granger. Granger. And we're going to go ahead and run that to make sure that that works fine. Okay, so now you should have 3 answers. We got Land Corporation, Cal Veterinary Services, and Lancaster County Hospital. Okay, those are all cities that belong in Granger, but we probably want to run this query several times based on different cities wherever we're looking for the information at. So let's not save that one and just go back to view, design view. And we're going to take out Granger. And this time we're going to create what's called a parameter query, meaning every time we run this query, it's going to pop up and ask us, what city do you want? So what we're going to do is in the criteria row, we're going to type bracket. That is the one without the shift. Enter city and the closed bracket. So you can see here what I've got. And we're going to hit run. This time whenever I run, it's going to come up and say enter city. It's just saying exactly what you put down here in the brackets. This time we want the city to be Wells, so W-E-L-L-S, and OK. And you should have got 2 for your answers. We're going to use a little different naming system for this one. I'm not exactly sure why. So file, save as, save object as, save as, and we're going to name this one account-city query. And OK. All right, so now if we would run this again, account-city query, I just double click it. Oops, let me go ahead and close this X here. So if we want to run it and use it again, let's right click this time. And let's just open it. And it's going to say, well, what city do you want to run this time? Let's try Wells again. And hit OK, and there it runs. All right. So we're going to go ahead and close that query. Okay, let's start a new one from scratch. This time we're going to use a number in the criteria. A number works the exact same way that text would work. So we're going to go to create, query design. We need information from our account table, so we'll add it and make it bigger so we can see all of our fields. Okay. And we're going to want the account number, the account name, amount paid, current due, and this time we want to see people who owe nothing. So under current due criteria, we're going to type a 0 there and run. You can see that it looks like there's only one person who doesn't owe us any money, and that is Key Community College. So we're going to save this one. So I have actually come up here to my navigation pane. Let me show you that real quick. So over here, you can put up here what you want. You'll see here that I have save, and I have a save as. Those are very handy to use. So I'm just going to, you click the arrow here, you can check mark what you want. Up there, usually you have undo and redo. I have a print preview. But you probably want the save to be showing, and then save as. You may have to go to more commands and get your save as from over here. You can just drag them over here. Okay. So this time I'm going to hit run the query and save it. So because it's not named, I should just hit save, but I just get in the habit of using save as, and it's going to ask me what I want to name it. It is M02Q03, and hit OK. It's just a little bit handier than going to file, save as, save object as. Okay, the next one we're going to do, we're going to close that query down. Remember, we close with this X. We are going to use a comparison operator. A comparison operator is something that you've used in algebra class. It's the little alligator sign. And so unless you specify otherwise, the Access is going to assume the criteria you enter must be an exact match. So for the last one, it had to exactly owe $0. If they owed a penny, it would not show it to us. So sometimes you just want to know people who owe more than a certain amount or people who owe less than a certain amount. So in that case, we're going to have to use a comparison operator. Those are going to be found on page 79 of your book. And your comparison operators are your greater than, which is going to be the shift period. It is going to be less than, which is your shift comma button. You can have greater than or equal to, which is just your greater than sign and the equal sign, and less than or equal to, which is the less than sign and the equal sign. And you can also have not equal to, which is the word not, so N-O-T. And those are on page 79 of your book if you need to take a look at those. So we're going to use a comparison operator in this criteria because we want to find all account managers whose start date is after January 1st of 2015. So we're going to start a new query. So create query design. This is going to use the account manager table. So we want the account manager table. Close that and make that bigger. We want to include the account manager number, their last name, their first name, and the start date. So I should have 4 of those showing up down here. For the criteria of the start date, I'm going to put greater than because we want dates that were after. So it's got to be greater than 1/01/2015. And hit run. Okay, so it looks like we had 2 people that started after January 1st of 2015. That is Peter and Karen. So let's go ahead and save that query. So I'm just going to hit save as. We're going to name this one M02Q04. And okay. We can also have a compound operator. And those are on page 80 in your book. The compound operator involves the words and or. So maybe we want to find the accounts that have a current due amounts greater than $2,500 and whose account manager is 31. So it'd have to meet both criteria. The or criteria allows you to meet either or. So for example, I could say, give me a list of all students in the high school who are a junior or a senior. It would not have to meet those criteria. The and criteria would be, give me a list of all the girls who are seniors, so they would have to be a girl and they would have to be a senior for it to return that information. And those compound operators are what we're going to use next. We're going to use one that involves or. So I'm going to close this query. We are going to start a new one. So create query design. This time we want the account table. And if I can grab a hold of it here. We want the account number, the account name, the amount paid, the current due, and the account manager number fields. For our criteria, we want the current due to be greater than 2,500. So I'm going to go to current due on the criteria line and put greater than 2,500. They also have to belong to account manager 31. So on the same criteria row, I'm going to go to account manager and type 31. So if your criteria are all on the same row, that is a compound criteria using and. It has to meet both of these before it's going to show up. Let's go ahead and run it. You can see here, all of these are account managers 31, and they all owe more than 2,500. So we'll save that one as M02Q05. And okay. Next we'll use one using or. So let's just return to that same one. So I'll go view, design view. This time we want to find accounts who have a current due greater than 2,500 or whose current account manager is 31. So it does not have to meet both criteria. So I'm going to take the 31 off of this same row and drop it down to the or row. You see your or row here. I'll type 31 there. So now it should match either or. I'll run. You can see here we still have account manager 31, but we've also got account number 35. But they owed more than 2,500. So that is how you do the compound operator using or. So let's go ahead and save that one, which it has us save that one a little bit different. So file, or just hit save as. And I'm just going to take out the copy of Q5 and I'm going to put space or. Okay, hit OK. Next, there are some special other criteria. We're not going to do these in the examples, but I will. Oh, sorry, that was this. I named it wrong. We'll fix it here in a minute. But you will have to do these in your homework and also on your test. So those are going to be on page 82 of your book. You have the AND operator, you have the between operator, and the IN operator. So meaning it has to be greater than or equal to 20,000, and it has to be less than or equal to 40,000. So that's going to give me everything between 20,000 and 40,000. I could also use between there. So instead I could type between 20,000 and 40,000. It's going to be the same thing for both 1 and 2. And then the IN operator, you're going to select a list of values and then follow the word IN with those in parentheses. Okay, next let's look at some sorting. So in your criteria, you've been running these, but they just come up in whatever order they're in. We can actually sort the records however we want them. You can have a primary sort key, which is the first way it sorts, and then a secondary sort, which is after it sorts by this, it sorts by that one. For example, here we could sort these all by account number and then sort them by the current due. So in order to do that, it's a little tricky because in our design view, we have to make sure the primary key is shown first. Then the secondary key comes after it. If you want the primary key to be after your secondary sort, like here, you would actually have had to have put this column up here in front of the secondary sort and said do not show. So let's just go back to view, design view. So this column here would have had to have been first, but because we wanted to show back here, we would have just said do not show. So let's go to the way the book is going to have us walk through this example. So it wants us to do the return to design view. And instead of creating a new query, it wants us just to delete this one. So I'll just show you how you can do that. So if I put my mouse above the title of the field, I get a black arrow. If I click, it highlights it in black. So then I could actually just hit the delete key on my keyboard. I could select all of them and hit delete key on my keyboard. Now I have a blank screen. Okay, in that case, I probably would have just hit create and done a new query. But now you know how to delete a account if you did not want it in there. So in this one, we want to sort the data in the query. We want to sort all of the cities that we have accounts in. So we're going to enter the city field. And that's the only one we want. So we want to sort it ascending. So down here in the sort column, or the sort row, we're going to hit the arrow and do ascending. Yes, it is this simple, and hit run. Now we have all the cities and they are sorted ascending. However, if you'll notice, if I was sorting cities a city, I would not list Wells twice. I would not list Granger 3 times. So I don't want to see duplicates. I only want to see each city listed one time. So let's go back to the design view. We're not saving that one, just go back to design view. And here's how you're going to do this. This is a little bit trickier, not hard, but you just have to remember how to do that. You have to open the property sheet. So I'm on my accounts field because that's all we have. I come to property sheet. Oh, sorry. I need to make sure that I'm in the blank column, so the next blank column that you have. Then I go to property sheet, and then I'm going to have all these. I could tell I was in the wrong one because it wasn't long enough. So I need to be in the blank one. Then over here in general, you're going to see unique values and unique records. A unique value means that value can only appear once, and a unique record is the record could only appear once. We are going to want a unique value. We're going to change that to yes. So it has to be a unique value, meaning a unique city name, before it's going to show up. So we've got that changed. Let's go ahead and run it. We should still get our same list of cities, but this time each city only showed one time. Let's go ahead and save that one. We're going to name it M02Q07 and hit OK. Oh, I was going to show you how to fix that 6 down here where I put 4. So we can just come over here. As long as it's not open, you right click on it, rename it, and we can just make that Q06. And then click off of it and it's renamed. Okay, back to the sort. We can also sort multiple keys, which I just talked about. So for example, this one we want to sort by the amount paid, lowest to highest, within each account manager. So we want the account manager sorted, and then we want the amount paid sorted. Remember, the minor key must appear to the right of the major one. So you have to have the major and then the minor. So let's go back to design view. We're going to go ahead and clear our grid. So we're going to delete the city. And we're going to want the account number, the account name, the account manager number, the amount paid. So we have 4 fields, it looks like. We want to sort the account manager number. So here's account manager number. We're going to go sort. And we want it to be ascending. And then for the amount paid, we're going to sort ascending. So we'll sort first by the account manager number, then the amount paid. Go ahead and run. And here they are. We have account manager numbers. And then within those manager numbers, we have the amount paid. Save this one. So save as, and this will be M02Q08. Okay. Okay, next we're going to do a top value query. This is super easy, but I will tell you it is probably the most often missed query on the test because students just forget where to find this one. So a top value query means show me the top 10, show me the top 5, show me the top 10%. So this is really easy to do. Go to View, Design View. Okay, we want to, we've got our same list here, which is fine. Up here where it says Return All, we're just going to return only 5. If you do not see your option listed, you can just type here. So if I wanted to do 10, I can just type it in. We do want 5. So it's only going to show me the top 5 results. And I hit run. There it is. It only showed me 5 of those. Save as. It is M02Q09. And OK. Yes, this is a very long chapter with lots of queries in it. Okay, next we're going to talk about joining tables. Joining tables can be very simple if you set up your tables correctly. Remember in chapter 1, I stressed a lot about making sure you spelled things correct. If you had a field name, that you named it in your second table exactly the way it was in your first table. Otherwise, it's not going to join or create a relationship between your tables. So let's start with create a query design. This time we want both tables. We're going to start with the account manager table and then the account table. Okay. You should see, if I can drag mine to make them bigger, that I have this join line here on my relationship line. So Access has figured out that, hey, I bet this account manager number and that account manager number are the same person. Okay. So if I have Sue up here for my account name, and her account manager is 31. I can look over here on 31, and that belongs to John as the account manager. So if you don't get that line showing up, what has happened is somewhere you have misspelled this word or this one, or you set up the field size different, or you set up the caption different, or something is off on those. So you're going to have to close out of this, go back to your account table and to your account manager table and make sure those are perfect and that they do match, and then you will be able to try it again and get your relationship or your join line, I hope. Okay, so we got our join line, so that's good. In our design grid down here, we're going to want the account manager number. So we're looking at the account manager table. We want the account manager number. We want the last name. We want the first name. And we want the from that table. So we got 3 from that table. Then we're going to come over to the account table, and we want the account number and the account name. Okay, so what it's going to show us is account manager and then their account that they have. It'll give us their number, their name, and then who their accounts belong to, and run. So you can see here, account manager number 31 is Riviera. And these are sorted, so I missed that, so let's just go back to here. We want to sort by the account manager number, so let's just change that to ascending and try run again. Okay, now we have all of account number 31. That belongs to Heidi Riviera. And you can see here that she has her accounts for Tri-County Waste, Midwest Library, Key Community College, and ongoing. Okay? So let's go ahead and hit the Save As button here, and we're going to name this one Manager-Account Query. And hit OK. All right. Sometimes we want to change our join properties. So let's go back to our design view. And we want to right-click this join line. When you right-click it, you can do join properties. It's going to open this up. Now, depending on which order your accounts were put in there, is going to make a difference on which order they show up. Hold on just a moment. I got to pause for just a second. Okay, sorry about that. So we are back here, and we were on our join properties. And so here, depending on which table you put in here first will depend on which one is listed first, whether it's the left or the right. So just make sure whenever you're doing this that you read your options down here. Because what we want is we want to include all the records for the account manager. Include all records from the account manager and only those records from the account where the join fields are equal. So right now we have only include records where join fields from both are equal. So if we have an account manager without an account, it's going to come up here. If we have an account without a manager, it's not going to come up here. And it's the same thing if we have an account without a manager, it's also not going to show. So we want to see all the records from the account manager table, so whether they have an account or not, we want to see them, and and then their following account. So we want to know if we have a manager who doesn't have any accounts out there. So you need to make sure you read this carefully, because depending on which order your tables are in will depend on which one's the left and which one is the right. Hit OK. Now we can run our query again. So now you can see that Peter doesn't have any accounts. Peter needs to get busy. Okay, let's go ahead and just go ahead and hit save this time, and we're saving over the last one we did. Okay, you can also create a report from within a query. So in the last chapter, we created a report from a table. We can do it from within a query. So we're going to open the manager account query, which I already have open here. This time we're going to do create. We're going to do report wizard. which is up here, the little word. We want to add all of the fields, so if I want them all, I can just hit the double triangles. We're adding them all. Hit next, and then we have them listed here. It says, do you want to add any groupings? So you could group these, so we could have actually grouped them by account manager. But because we've already sorted them, we're not really going to do that, so hit next. It says, do you want to sort anything? We've already done the sorting, so nope, hit next. We do want this to be a tabular or look like a table, so hit next. It says, what do you want to name your report? We want to name it the manager account report. And we'll go ahead and preview that. So finish. Give it a second, it's going to open up our report. And here's our report. And it shows you exactly what was in the query, but it has a nice report look to it. Okay, let's go ahead and close that report over here with this X. Now you have it in the report down here. So I'm going to close that query too. There, now I've got a blank screen. It says if you were going to print the report, we'll go through the print steps here. So if I wanted to print that one, I could just click on it, open it, go to File, Print, and then I could do Quick Print, Print, or Print Preview. I'm just going to do Print Preview, and that's what it would look like printed, because we are not really printing. I'm going to close that out. Next, we're going to create a form for a query. This is just super easy. It was just like a form that was for a table in the last chapter. So we do want our manager account query selected. So manager account query, make sure you're not on the manager account report because it won't work. We're going to do create and form. Now you can see those same answers in a form. So there's account manager 31 and her account. If I go over, there's her next one and her next one, kind of like little index cards. So we're going to hit the save button. We're going to save this one as manager account form. And okay. All right. So in the last chapter, we imported some data. We can also export. So we're just going to walk through the steps of how to export this, because sometimes you want to be able to open these files in Excel. So we're going to click on the manager account query, which is here. I'm going to go to my external data. And under external data, I need to make sure over here's the import side, here's the export side. I want to export to Excel. You could name your file, so usually you just leave it named whatever it might be. And you would export it with the formatting and layout. And let's go ahead and open that once it is exported and hit OK. I've already done this before, that's why it's saying it. So yes, I do want to replace it. Yours probably did not give you that option. And give it a second. And then it has opened up the Excel file. So now I have all that data in Excel where I can sort and manipulate it there too. Okay, I'm going to close that. And I am not going to save my export steps. I'm going to close that. Okay, you can also export to a text file if you want. All right, next, I'm on page 101 in the book. If you're following along with me, we're getting close. Next, we're going to add criteria to a join query. Sometimes you want to join tables, but you do not want to include all the possible records. For example, you would like to create a report showing only those records whose amount paid is greater than $20,000. In this case, you would relate the tables and include fields just as you did before. You would also include the criteria, but to only include those accounts that have paid more than $20,000. Okay, we're going to restrict our records in our join field. It's going to work exactly the same way. It's just having one table, but now we have two tables. So we're going to open up this manager account query. I'm going to go to the design view. So I have to go back to home, design view. Here they are. I want to set a criteria that the amount paid. I'm looking for amount paid. Oh, do I not have an amount paid here? but we have to add it. So the amount paid is going to be over here. And then the criteria for that one would be greater than 20,000. So it's greater than, and then 20,000. You do not add your commas in when you're typing that. And run. So now you can see we have all the information, and all these people here have paid over $20,000. Okay, close the query. It says when you're asked if you want to save it, hit no. Not sure why we're not saving that one, but we're not. Okay, next is calculations. So if a special calculation is required for a query, you need to determine whether the calculation is of an individual record calculation. For example, we want to add the values of two fields for one record, or a group calculation. For example, finding the total of values in the particular field on all the records. Pratt Associates might want to know the total amount, meaning the amount paid and the current due for each account. We don't have a column in either one of our tables. None of our fields would give us this total amount information. So we can compute this using a calculated field or a computed field. It's not typically in the table, but we do want to add it to this query. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new account. So create, query, design. Sorry, I think I said that wrong, but we want query design. We are going to want the account table this time. And from our account table, make it bigger, we want the account number, the account name, the amount paid, and the current due. Because we're going to want to add this amount paid and this current due together. Okay, so this is a little tricky. I'm on page 103 if you need to refer back to see these instructions, because unlike Excel, which would kind of do formulas and everything for you, Access does not. You also have to type exactly perfect whenever you're doing the formula in Access. So we're going to click here in the new blank field. And then we're going to right click on that one, and we want to hit zoom. I know you want to hit totals, but we want to hit zoom. Okay, it's going to open up a box here, and this is where we're going to have to type in our formula. So we're going to type what we want our field to be called, which would be total amount. Paste. Then I have to put in, instead of like in Excel where you could just point to the amount paid, I have to type it. So in brackets, not the curly ones, the ones without the shift, I will have to type amount paid. Now, if you have a typo here, you're going to have a typo up here. They have to match perfectly. Close bracket. Do space plus because I want to add. Open bracket. Current due. And oops, that's capital due. And close bracket. So this current due has to match this current due exactly. And hit OK. So now we have a new column showing here. Let's run. You can see here that it has now added this field plus this field to give us the total amount that they have spent. Okay, let's go back to that design view. And this time, we want to change the amount paid field. We want to change the caption for that one. Not for the table, because we learned how to do that in the last chapter, but only for this query. So on the amount paid, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click my property sheet, come over here, and I have a caption. For my caption, I want to just put paid. Right. And for current due, I'm going to click it. Again, I'm in the property sheet under caption, and I want to just type due. That way, whenever we run the query, those are the words it shows. It doesn't say the word amount in front of it. Go ahead and run your query again. You should now see paid, due, and total amount. Let's go ahead and save that one. So we're going to name this one M02Q10 and hit OK. All right, we can also calculate some statistics. Some statistics that you can do in Access include count, meaning count the number of records. You can get a sum or the total, the average, the max, the min, the standard deviation, a variance, first value, or last value. These are called aggregate functions, and it's going to perform some mathematical function against a group of records. You use this a lot in statistics. So we're going to close this one, and we're going to create query design. We want the account table, and I gotta make it bigger. Okay, we're gonna click we're gonna do amount paid, because what we are wanting to find is the total amount paid by all of our customers. So I have amount paid, then I'm going to come up here and hit the big total button. It's gonna add a new total row right here, total and group by. So where it says group by, we want to change that to what kind of statistics that we're wanting to find. We are wanting to find, the average, not the total, but the average. So I'll look down here through average. So we want to find the average amount paid by all of our customers and run. Your answer should be one number, the $22,637.78. Okay, let's go back to the design view. We're going to now include the account manager number. So account manager number. And for the total there, we want to choose group by where, at the very bottom, WHERE, 31 in the criteria row. So we want to find, basically we're wanting to find the average amounts for all the customers who belong to account manager 31. So we have to do that. We are not going to show this column though, because we obviously know that that is account manager 31. And run. So you can see for account manager 31, his average amount paid is $18,000. Let's save this one as M02Q11. And okay. Told you there was a lot of queries in this chapter. Okay, next we're going to use some grouping. Statistics are often used in combination with other groupings. So grouping just means that you would put all account manager 31 together, account manager 35 together, and so on. So we're going to go back to our design view. There we go. And we want the account manager number to be shown this time, so we're going to put the check mark in it. And we're going to reverse their position. So I'm going to highlight the account manager and put it first. So account manager, take out the criteria. We want to change this where to be group by. So account manager, we want to group by and show that. Then the average is still over here under the amount paid. And run. This time we should see account manager 1, 35, and 58, and the average amount of all of what their customers have paid. We're going to save that one as M02Q12 and okay. Okay, next, if you're following along in the book, we're skipping the cross-tab query. You do not have to do that. You will not be responsible for doing that in your homework or on this test. Next, we want to just go over your navigation pane just a little bit. This is the last thing we need to show you. So I'm going to close this window here. And it's just showing you that here you can see all your tables, you can see all your queries, you can see all your forms and all of your reports. You can also change the order that they're located in. So you can also close them up. So just some different things you can do with that. So I recommend that you read through page 112 and 113. And that is the end of this chapter together. You are now going to do in the lab 1, which is your Garden Naturally database. You're going to be opening the database you created in chapter 1, or you can download the one I gave you with this assignment and do the steps for it. You do get to skip step 11 where it says create a cross-tab query. Make sure whenever you're naming all your queries, you add your initials at the end of them. And then you will do lab 2, the museum gift shop, the same thing we did before, except we're creating a bunch of new queries for that one. So that's your homework. After you finish that, you are ready for your access test. Your test is going to be pretty much identical to every everything we did in chapter 1 and chapter 2. So you're going to start by creating some tables, importing some data into them. Creating the fields, inserting some records. You're going to have to then do some simple queries, some reports, some forms, some more complicated queries. So you need to know how to do all the queries that we just did in this chapter for your test. Okay, and we are not doing chapter 3. So if you have any questions, let me know.